Ho sentito dire che ci sono altri mondi abitati.
I've heard that there are other worlds that are inhabited.
E Padre Pio rispose:
And Padre Pio answered,
e che vorresti che solo noi, in questo piccolo pianeta che è il nostro mondo, amassimo Dio, ma ci saranno tanti altri mondi nei quali ameranno il Signore.
would you believe that it would just be our tiny world that would be giving glory to God? There has to be many more worlds, many more planets that exist with inhabitants that would be giving glory to God. It is not just us.
If I told you that, the very nature of the moon and Mars and most of the planets in the solar system is being kept from you for specific reasons, to make you think that you're completely alone and that these planets can't be colonized.
Back in the 50s, the big question was, do they come from Mars or do they come from Venus? And by the 60s and 70s, we had gotten a little more sophisticated in our intellect and our thinking, and the question became, well, do they come from Alpha Centauri or Zeta Reticuli 4, Well, and then now we're up to today, and we've got even more sophisticated, and now the question is, do they come from another planet, or do they come from another dimension? Or are they perhaps time travelers? Do they come from another time, okay? And in my study of all of this, I have kind of come to the conclusion that the answer is yes.
The more you know about this field, it becomes almost paralyzing, because the more you know, the less you know. The more you know, and the more open-minded you are about this, the more you realize that every answer you find just leads to a thousand more questions.
Vast sums of money are being siphoned through these different agencies into the coffers of the CIA, which then forwards this money on to the DoD, and this money is funneled through the DoD and goes into the black projects which the DoD has direct oversight over. So the CIA is kind of like the bagman. It collects the money, it goes to the Department of Defense that actually administers how this money is going to be spent on different black projects. So the size, how much are we talking about? I think the best indication for just how much we're talking about here are the auditing irregularities that the Inspector General of the Department of Defense has himself identified. He identified in 3 years, it was 1998, 1999 and the year 2000. In those 3 years, he identified on average $1.7 trillion could not be accounted for in the Department of Defense budget. In other words, this was money that was being moved around in ways that could not be accounted for. And I think what that indicates is the true size of the black budget. We're looking at an infrastructure that is funded by as much as $1.7 trillion a year. Now, when you consider that the whole Department of Defense budget officially is just over $400 billion, we're talking about a vast infrastructure that is 4 times greater than the entire Department of Defense budget.
As Jack Nicholson would say, you can't handle the truth.
Is it possible that ancient and secret societies exist that have always had the real but hidden information? And have they, as a result of their ongoing familial knowledge, been manipulating and governing virtually all countries down through the centuries? Researchers point to the Illuminati and the power elite and their use of propaganda as carried by the mainstream media. Many believe that these powerful few actually control almost all information by implanting false knowledge and beliefs into our human collective reality.
Essentially everything that you would want to know has been covered up. From the electrogenetic magnificence of your DNA being a spiritual antenna to the Creator, to the most amazing Pythagorean mystery school mathematics that is essentially freeing to humanity, in essence also very, very clear that everything in our world is a divine creation, and as the math is the expressive tool of the Creator for creationism.
The United States government, the leader of the free world, is totally controlled by a wealthy oligarchy. A small handful of people that are just super rich. Most of them are not even in government, but they tell the government what to do. These are the people who are behind the UFO secrecy. They don't care if you know there's ETs out there. But if you know there's ETs out there, then you will know that there is alternative technology. And this could upset their monopolies over energy, fuel, transportation, communications, pharmaceuticals. And that's what they don't want. After all, who would continue to pay all these ever-increasing prices for gasoline that's polluting the air, choking us all, killing our kids? Why would we do that if we knew beyond any shadow of a doubt that there was non-polluting energy sources out there? This is what it's all about. It comes back to the old journalistic adage, follow the money.
Everything has been covered up. The toxicities of the pharmaceuticals. You're not learning the truth about vaccinations. You're not learning the truth about various medications. The pharmaceutical industrialists, which I prefer to call the military, medical, petrochemical pharmaceutical cartel, essentially has control of the media, the mainstream media, and so it has control over the mass mind. And as a result of those powers that they assert, people are not given factual information upon which to make informed decisions. They're given propaganda, and as a result, the choices that people are making are genocidal. And I say genocidal with a strict definition, meaning the mass killing of people for economic, political, and or ideological reasons. And those pharmaceutical industrialists are intimately connected to those people who wish to control populations. They've published the literature, what their intent is, not only how best to control populations, why populations need to be controlled, but ultimately affecting the technologies that are in place to do just that. Currently, 50% reduction in general of the planet's population that has been targeted for elimination.
The disclosure project is oriented towards putting together credible government documents and these witnesses so that there is an undeniable case made that this is real and not fictitious. It started really in early 1990s, and after I had briefed the President Clinton's first CIA director on this problem, it was made very clear to me that the executive branch of the U.S. government did not want to do this because, I'm quoting, the President was concerned he would end up like Jack Kennedy. I'm not kidding. That was said to me by President Clinton's closest friend.